And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on Deborah Kobylt Live. And please welcome my guest, Meredith Yinger. Meredith is a director, a documentarian. She owns She TV Media, which is a video production company. She actually does all sorts of things. And also, we're here to talk about her first feature documentary, Scars Unseen. I've seen it, and it's absolutely magnificent. It's told through the eyes of three women about three totally separate and different types of abuse that they encountered. Very, very interesting stories and beautifully told and shot, I have to say. Thank you so much for joining us today, Meredith.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the love for Scars Unseen. I'm excited to talk with you.
Absolutely fabulous. So you wanted to be a TV reporter, I understand, or be in the world of TV news when you first started out, didn't you?
Yes, that's very true. I love Oprah. I idolize her. I originally thought, broadcast journalism, that's the way to go. And then in college, I was fortunate enough to discover documentary filmmaking. And so I added that on as a second degree for TV and film production so I could learn all elements, storytelling and theory and communication from the communication side, but also, editing and filming and the whole production process from film.
That's actually interesting because I always wanted to be a documentary maker. Oh, maybe I can intern for you or something. Could you imagine? Do you do do you do older interns? It's like, I'll get coffee. I don't really, I'd actually love to see your process one day, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk, please, about Scars Unseen. It's absolutely magnificent. And tell us about the three people that it follows.
Yeah, so it highlights Maha, Adrienne, and Trish. And we also focused on three women. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the statistic of 1 in 4 women affected pre-COVID by domestic violence went up to 1 in 3 afterwards. So really leaning into that statistic visually. Also, I feel the three kind of amplifies that. And gosh, they're all so incredible. Maha's originally from Yemen and came over to seek asylum in Santa Monica locally. And she actually ended up meeting Judge Einhorn, who is the judge that wrote the asylum law, the Refugee Act of 1980. And they helped Maha able to stay. And now she teaches yoga classes and she is just a phenomenal force.
Let me just stop you for a moment about her, because I found her to be fascinating. First of all, she's beautiful. Second of all, she really went through the abuses that you have to endure. I believe she's from Yemen, right? You said, and the arranged marriages, and then that didn't work out. So there was a second arranged marriage that was even worse. And parents don't really help there. Now, I know a lot of people here in America are saying, well, not really my problem. But what's happening around the world and the abuses are really, really serious. And if there's anything we can do as a free nation to help, I really feel like it's our obligation to do that. But she was so strong. And the judge that helped her through, he said that as well in your film. He said she's one of the toughest people I know. Very tough on the inside, but soft around the edges, right? I also love her story of how yoga helped her. It's a beautiful story and very, very well told, I will say. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. She really is. And it's kind of miraculous, her story, and each of their stories in their own way, just in terms of who they met and when, and kind of serendipitously, they all came together, obviously with very, very different stories and backgrounds, but like telling this larger narrative when we wove them together.
Yeah. Let's talk about the second person, if you will. Adrienne, what was her story? Okay, I just want to say, I know I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry. But I like that in this film, you talk about varying types of abuse, because there are different types of abuse. Right. It's not necessarily the boyfriend beating up the girlfriend or the husband beating up the wife. There's different types of abuse. There's emotional abuse that we talk about. There's physical abuse. It's long and strong. And as you said, I believe 1 in 3 women have been abused. By the way, is that nationwide or globally?
I believe, I'll have to fact check, but that's nationwide. And I think it even might be 1 in 2 according to the CDC.
Wow. All right. So let's talk about Adrienne's story, shall we?
Yeah, so Adrienne has an incredible story. And her daughter, Victoria, they're just such forces and truly showcase, the process of working through trauma. And I think that that's something that often isn't highlighted. Like you're saying, we don't often see the different varying degrees of abuse, the different relationships that are impacted. And like from a familial unit standpoint, even, right? Like, what does that look like for your kids or for the people around you? And Adrienne was able to get out, and she explains the process and how many times it took her. And I feel like that's also another element that a lot of people think of. They think it's like a one and done, but I think Rachel says it best when she says, it's not an event, it's leaving as a process. And I really felt like that was greatly highlighted and summarized for Adrienne's story, and kind of gives insight into, how many things have to align in order to even move on.
What's interesting is what all these women had in common is they didn't give up. They knew that there was a better life for them out there somewhere, somehow. Yeah. And if there's any way that a woman can believe in herself, that even if at the moment she's standing alone and she has nobody to help her, no friends, no judge, just nobody, there will come a day when she'll meet somebody somewhere. It could be at the local Home Depot. I don't know, just anywhere. And you meet somebody who will offer a hand and guide you in the right direction. I really want women to believe that that can happen to them. Yeah. And that's something that these women had in common, I believe. They didn't give up. And Adrienne was interesting because she didn't want to pass down to her daughter generational trauma, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they were able to work together too, because her PTSD and her triggers were coming up from all of what she'd experienced, right? And so how do you grow and work from that perspective as well? And I think what you said also makes me think of Trish is also providing that element of hope. And I feel like that's Trish's mission, right? Is to be that guiding light to show people that there is hope and that there is a way out. And that's what she's doing through her nonprofit, Safe Passage. That helps women and children in domestic violence situations holistically get out and find healing again.
Yeah, I'd love to interview her on my show, actually, if you think there's any way we could arrange that, because I'd love to highlight Safe Passage. Yeah. Talk to me about her situation, what she went through. I mean, that was pretty bad. And I wasn't sure as I was watching the movie, well, how's she going to come out of this? And she did. And now she's working to help other women as well through her nonprofit. Talk to me a little more about Trish.
Yeah, so Trish has a really long journey to where she is today. And she's been doing, this work advocacy-wise for decades now. But yeah, she experienced abuse in a number of different ways and at different times in her life too as well. So it was almost like she kept hitting that wall and having a new encounter. And then finally, she reached a turning point where she was like, okay, I need to do something about this. I need to leave. And then she was able to find healing and be guided towards, a support group and a community of people. And then that led her to start her own nonprofit, which is just incredible that she had that, calling and that sense that if I did it, other people can do it too. And now I think she's helped thousands of women and children. So it's just incredible the work that she's doing to pay it forward.
Yeah. Where is Safe Passage located?
Located in LA. And they have a couple other offices, I believe they're opening as well.
So if a woman is experiencing abuse, they can go there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we, on our website and their website as well, they have a lot of resources available depending on what the need is. Obviously, it's different for every situation. So you can call and get in touch with them to see what they offer and what aligns with what you're looking to do. And they'll definitely be able to point you in the right direction or help you however they can.
Let's talk about you a little bit, because obviously you're very interested in the space of helping other women. Even the name of your company, right? She TV Media. Talk to me about your main interests when it comes to your production company, the films you make, would you?
Yeah, I think the name kind of does say it all. Like, I just feel like it's kind of a reclamation, even with the retro logo of the TV, of reclaiming, you know, how women have previously been portrayed in film and television and media, and also looking forward and incorporating more of an inclusive media, more of a game-changing aspect into production, into how we tell these stories, into who's in front of the camera, you know, the plot lines, how we're portraying people, and really bringing women and minorities into the entire process, because that's how I truly believe that we're going to have fresh and new and exciting content. Because we've seen the old tropes, we're done with that. I think it's time for a new phase for us to move forward into. And so the stories I'm really passionate about are bringing, you know, empowerment and trying to be inclusive and talk about the stories that are often silenced, or that we don't talk about, or, you know, that are shunned. That's really kind of what gets me going now.
How did you find these three women?
Oh, this is a good one. So, like I said, serendipitously, they all kind of came together. I knew Trish from working with her nonprofit and filming, actually for videos for their nonprofit. And then at a speaking event that we were filming for Trish, Maha was speaking at, and that's how we were introduced to Maha, and immediately went up to her and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to include you in this project. This is what we're doing. And then Adrienne actually found us through the crowdfunding campaign that we were doing. And then, you know, here we are. Years later, and it's just kind of been incredible, because I think this project just attracts people that really do believe in this mission and in spreading hope and healing and changing the narrative. So everyone from our crew to, you know, post-production and our composers, like everyone has come together to really believe in it. And I think that's definitely what helped get it finished. So here, hopefully now in its exhibition era, we have the same kind of trajectory.
Do you mostly hire a female crew, mostly?
Yes. Yeah, predominantly all women and minorities and some men.
Yeah, it sounds like a great place to work, honestly. I'm not kidding about that interning. And I make good coffee. But tell me a little bit about the way you grew up. I know that you're an LA girl, right?
Yes.
What was your situation? Because a lot of times, especially with the kind of work that you put out there, you would have had to come from a similar background or issue. So what is it, you know, how did you grow up? What was your family dynamic?
Yeah, so I'm probably like one of 8 people in LA that are from LA.
Right.
Originally, born and raised, I think I'm like a 5th generation Los Angelino. My parents grew up in like Inglewood, Torrance area. I was born in Burbank, so pretty local. And then I went to obviously LMU for a college. And that's actually where my dad went. So that was pretty cool to have that as well. And yeah, I think I've also just kind of had this like social justice instilled in me.
Yeah.
How I've grown up, and just in terms of like how my family is, I think we've almost always kind of been journalists or teachers, or, you know, trying to do some good in the world. And my dad actually used to sell B movies. So I always grew up like with cinema, and we're just like, you know, huge fans of the arts and film. And I think that kind of was a really big, you know, influence and inspiration into my life. And then also finalizing in college and in my adult years, like this is a medium that has impacted me. And there's certain films, you know, I'm sure that for people in documentaries that really just make you think and can change the world and can change the views. And I think kind of finalizing that and making it my goal then to create impactful content, that's kind of what's geared me towards where I am today.
Yeah, I personally love documentaries. I watched them all throughout COVID. I've continued. I think they're interesting because you can usually always learn something from them, right? And there's great value in them. I really, and this one in particular is really quite terrific. Talk to me about, you know, what's next for you. What are you working on next?
So next, I am working on my second feature documentary called Vulva Revolution. So completely different topic, but still the underlying empowerment, female-led aspect. And it's about starting a sexual health revolution within women's healthcare. So we'll talk a little bit about like the history of gynecology and the health institutions and how they were founded, a little historical biases to present day medical gaslighting and how the medical system is kind of not educated on women's bodies at all. And also we'll highlight femtech and these entrepreneurs that are trying to like bridge the gap in terms of, kind of being a band-aid and a bridge from where the healthcare system is letting us down and what, a future of equitable healthcare can also look like. And how do we get there?
Right. Funding for your films. Is that very difficult? Because I know female funding, it's still not as much as what a lot of men are getting out there when it comes to funding a film, a documentary, or a project. Talk to me. Is that changing? And how do you go about getting the funding that you do?
Yeah, so it definitely has lots of room for improvement, I will say.
Yeah.
I believe it's like less than 2% just from like the VC standpoint go to female founded companies. And then I'd have to imagine within the entertainment industry, it's also very probably similar numbers. And crowdfunding and seeking private investors is what we'll be doing for my next documentary. Really trying to incorporate, the VC world, but also the femtech industries and brands that are trying to make a difference and utilize that to fund the documentary. And then it's like a rising tide lifts all boats mentality where you're getting highlighted and your brand is getting out there and you're building, that kind of viewership experience, but also we're accomplishing, educating and awareness and, what could the future look like? So kind of trying to get creative in terms of the next steps for fundraising.
And what would you like to say, to women who want to get into this space of making documentaries? Because again, it is still primarily a male-dominated field. Are there groups out there like you and I met, I believe, through the Bra Network, such a great space for women and entrepreneurs and professionals and women looking to get back into that space or just joining into that space. What would you like to say to women in terms of, getting in there, getting funding, keep going?
Yeah, I would say just that, like, don't wait to start, because I think that oftentimes we wait for permission or you wait for the right time or you wait mostly for permission, honestly. And it's like, you just have to kind of greenlight yourself. If there's something that you're so passionate about and a story that you really want to tell, do it. Because we need those stories. We need the passion. We need the underdogs. We need to see the resilience and kind of the middle ground, that we're not seeing in mainstream media. Like, we need these stories, I think, now more than ever. And I would encourage anyone, I'm like pro documentary filmmaking. I'm like, we need more of us. Like, we need to make this, more of a community and also make it a sustainable career, because right now it's kind of really tough to do that. And it, historically has been, but even more so today, just in terms of like the landscape of distribution and where filmmakers used to make back their money, right? Like how the indie game has shifted. So I would say get creative in terms of fundraising. There's a lot of grants out there, depending on like what your subject matter is. Also, you can definitely get and reach out to like partner organizations and start there in terms of like sponsors or people to get involved in supporting, whether that be financially or otherwise. Lots of resources out there, but definitely join groups like Bra and Film Independent and Women in Media. And, VC is another great one that I just joined. And that's specific for doc filmmakers, and just, be there to support each other. But I say, just go for it. It's going to be tough, but hang in there and keep going.
Well, it's just like the characters in your documentary. You really just, if you hit a brick wall, literally, back up and find a doorway somewhere. And that really just is sort of the story of life too, right? You just back up and find another door, even if you have to sort of squeeze your way in and that won't work out. Just keep going, right? Because I'm sure if you didn't, you wouldn't have had this film made, right?
Yeah, there's lots of challenges and obstacles in any project and in any film. And I just feel like, yeah, to keep the momentum going, even if it's baby steps, right? To get towards that finish line. I would say it'll be worth it, because then you'll have a finished product in the end, or something that you can, be proud of and share with the world. But just keep going. It'll maybe take time, but just keep pushing, keep going. Like, you just have to outlast is my motto.
Yeah. I know you're married and your husband is not even remotely in this TV space, but you've been married for 5 years. What does he say about your career? Yeah. He must be so proud of you, right? About the work you're doing.
It's been awesome to have him there with me for festivals and things as well. On this side, just to be there for support and also like amplifying. Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate, and I think he understands like how passionate I am about this and storytelling in general. And my whole family is just very, very excited that they can now tell people and show people, because they've heard me talk about it for years and years.
Well, you say festivals. Is this film, or will it be in certain festivals?
So we just finished about 5 film festivals. So we're in a in-between time at the moment. But yeah, we went to premiere in Dances with Films at the Chinese Theater in LA, which was just so cool and beyond.
Wow.
I'm from here, so just to have it at theaters, I'm like, how do you beat that?
Yeah, that's great.
How do you top that? And then we hopped around a little bit. We were in the Women's Film Festival in Philly, Twin Cities Film Festival, and Calabasas as well.
What other production do you do with She TV Media? And my next question after that will be, they're not really related, is do you have a bucket list project that you'd love to do? 2 separate questions, but I wanted to get them out there.
Okay, yeah. Now I have to think about this. Well, first question, the type of content we create, commercials, branded content, social media content with clients or corporations, nonprofits as well, short documentaries, and then obviously like the feature side of things is now Scars Unseen and then Vulval Revolution in terms of the feature docs that we're working on. Also have a few other pilots for series that I'm writing at the moment. So also expanding more into the narrative space in terms of development as well. And then, bucket list. This is a good one. I have always wanted to do a travel show where I go around and try all of the guacamole or local cuisines of the world, and just like get a taste of the culture as well in all of these places, and showcase some restaurants and people that wouldn't necessarily get camera time.
I love that. Sort of the off the beaten path little places that so many people would just sort of either continue to walk by or not even go down the street because it looks too small and so lightly traveled. I love that. I think there's a real need for that. So go do it. Perhaps after your next documentary, you'll get some funding and do that too. I love that idea.
Yeah, thank you. That would be the ultimate fun goal trip, and also create a show.
So why don't you give a shout out before I let you go as to how people can see your work, how they can get in touch with you? Maybe they'd want to work with you in some way. Would you?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm on LinkedIn. You can also find She TV Media on LinkedIn, shetvmedia.com. We're on social media as well, but definitely feel free to reach out. LinkedIn, or send us an email and get in touch with us. And for Scars Unseen specifically, also scarsunseen.com. You can find it through our She TV Media website as well. But there's a way to contact and learn more information. You can host a community screening of the film and reach out to us in that sense as we kind of go into promoting and bringing this story of hope to more and more people.
Beautiful. I appreciate you coming on. I really do. It's a terrific film. I want people to go see it and make sure that they see it. It's also an important film because that message, most of us or many of us know people who have been the victims of abuse. And very often it's a sad story, but we don't know what to do. And I love that with each of these women, they found a way out. And no matter what you're going through, you can find a way out. And that was the inspiration I got from your film. So thank you very much for doing that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
And everybody, you can find my interview with Meredith on all video and audio platforms, podcast platforms of Deborah Kobylt Live. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and then, of course, as an audio podcast on iHeartRadio, on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, you just name it, wherever you get your podcast, just put in our name and you'll find us. Very appreciative. And please invite your friends as well. That would just be great. Bigger community. It's good for all of us. So thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.